What's up, everyone? Today we're in the man cave, which means it's cold outside and we have an engine to work on. Actually, this winter we have several engines we need to really focus on. Of course, the Buick 455. That needs to get slammed together so we can put that back into Buick and have some big block power. And then we have this other engine sitting right here. That needs to get prepped for 25 pounds of boost and go into the Supra. But first, we have this. This is the engine that got us 2,500 miles from Texas all the way home. Now, when I bought it, it had 0 oil pressure once it warmed up, and that was within like 10 minutes of driving it. So not even like, I think it was like 4 minutes of driving it. But anyways, we threw an oil pump on it, and we threw some really thick oil in it, and it managed to drive the 2,500 miles home and a few trips afterwards. But at this point, I have a feeling I know what's wrong with it, but we want to confirm the exact issue and then determine, is it something that we can save? Because I want to put a Buick 350 and a CJ7. First, we got to crack this open and take a look. So let's go ahead and start off with some of the things that we've already discovered. All right, so there's a couple things that we need to kind of go over before we start digging into this. First, if you guys are interested in Buick engines, which you should be because they're freaking awesome, if you're looking at the engine real quick and you want to determine, is it a 350 or a 455, don't worry, I got you. This is a 350, also a 350. 3 lines on the actual valve cover, 1, 2, 3. And then if you get a 455, you'll have 4 lines. Also, you can see a little bit bigger as far as that size. Width, they're identical, but length, bigger, 4 lines, 3 lines. Easy peasy. Now, you notice something. These are red. This is black. It's not black because, well, it is black because it's covered with grime. But it's not only black because it's covered with grime. Someone painted this engine. Not very well either. Who knows when. But it's got multiple layers of paint. There's a couple spots where you can see steel, red, black. Not factory. Definitely a Craigslist rebuild on this engine. Initially, I was thinking this was a later engine because I could barely see inside. There's a stamping between cylinder number 1 and cylinder number 3 on obviously the driver's side, and you can kind of get an idea what engine you have. The stamping didn't make any sense for 1970, but now that I have the bracket off, I was able to look. It's got a stamping 4, and then the second stamping is a 9. So a Buick. Then, of course, it also tells you where it was manufactured and everything like that. But anyways, the 9, that means that the last digit of the year is a 9. And obviously, they didn't make these engines past 76. It means this engine's actually manufactured in 69, which would actually make more sense based off the deck stamping that we have on here, which is an R space O. Normally, they're right. Like the SP block that's sitting behind the camera, that's a 1970 Buick block. That's the highest compression. It was 10.25 to 1. If this is accurate, and I have no, we'll look at it better once we have everything off. But this engine would have been 1969, and it would have been a 9 to 1 compression ratio. But it would have been a 2-barrel carburetor, not a 4-barrel carburetor. So that's confusing. But if we throw everything together, we can kind of assume what ended up happening was this is the original engine to the car. Someone did a Craigslist rebuild on it, and called it done. But while they were at it, they switched out a 4-barrel carburetor from a junk car or something like that. We won't know until we dig into it to see exactly what's going on. Obviously, when we pulled this out, we found out that, of course, we have the spread bore carburetor, but they converted it down to a square bore, and then, of course, dumped it into a spread bore intake manifold. Now, the correct thing would have been, if they wanted a spacer, you could have thrown one of these guys in there. It's an actual spread bore spacer. Either way, that's an intriguing thing to me. So to me, so far, we'll figure out a little bit further as we go. This is possibly the original engine, but Craigslist rebuild with performance parts. It also explained why there was a Holly on here, not a thermoquad, or quadrojet. I have thermoquad in my head. We'll cover that another time. So Now that we got that out of the way, we have some theories already going. We need to start digging into this, and we got to figure out what's going on. How do the pistons look? How do the cylinders look? How do the heads look? What casting heads do we have? Are they the larger valves? Are they smaller valves? What do we got going on here? Just how far does this Craigslist rebuild go? So let's go ahead and start digging into this. So you can kind of see right here what I was talking about. Black, red, metal, not factory at all. Just pulling that off. Look how rusted this little outlet on this coolant is. Just totally just gone. The water pump itself, I don't know when it was replaced. Not super long ago, but not too recent. Freaking really nice shape. Not that I'm going to reuse it, but we are going to set this aside. Now, one of the things I will mention about the timing covers, they're expensive to replace, but let me show you something. If you look at this one right here, you can see that our oil pump is actually situated on the bottom side right here, and these do get worn out. I don't know how well you guys can see in this one, but yeah, this one's pretty worn out. This was out of the other 350, like I said, the one behind you. And sure, they're expensive, but by replacing them, you're going to ensure better oil pressure, and you can get upgraded ones. Food for thought. And well, I'll pull the camera out and show you over here. Another reason to replace your old timing cover. One, I have a hard time believing that this is the overall, rust or corrosion. Aluminum has a little bit of galvanic corrosion over time, but just in general, 60s and 70s aluminum just sucks. The casting process was terrible, so replacing it with a newer one is a really good idea. That's terrible. Let's go ahead and continue pulling off the top of the engine here. I gotta say, we're having a pretty good time so far with things not being completely stuck on. Also, this neck is in good shape. Moving on. I'm gonna put all our water pump stuff right in here. Make sure this doesn't fall and hit the table behind the engine. Water pump, water stuff, all that in that box. Garbage. We're not going to reuse this manifold ever, so not a big deal. We're not going to try saving anything off of it. We're going to try to clean up as we go, though. PCV valves. Don't delete them. They're good. Unless you're doing like a track exclusive thing. PCV valves are good. Replace them. Don't reuse them. Garbage. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just break these free, and then we're going to zip them out. And then I didn't super clean it. I just wanted to make sure stuff, not a whole bunch of stuff I should say, falls into the actual valley here. It's actually surprisingly clean inside the plenum. Oh, I don't know if I said this earlier. This particular engine, if it is 79 wait, 9-1. No, because they bumped the horsepower up. Disregard that. The higher compression would have gotten you about 280 horsepower as opposed to the 230. I don't know. We'll have to see what it says on the actual deck when we get there. Forgot one. Wasn't in there very tight anyways. You gotta love that smell you get when you start taking apart an engine. From the oils and stuff that have been compressed for 52 years. Actually, it'd be 53, I believe, if this engine is from then. Now, we'll save the bolts, however, switching over to something like a SP1, which I recommend. Good intake manifold from TA Performance. Not sponsored. I just really like their intake manifolds. I like a lot of stuff they sell. Sponsor me? I'm kidding. I was really in there. Nasty. What was I saying? The bolts that come from this won't work with the upgraded intake manifolds. So, nice to hold on to them. Chances of me ever using them? Slim. Fixed. That's how you install a manifold right there. Oh, what does I bring? I was actually bringing this over to leather. Don't do that with anything else. Oh, yeah. She's free. She just weighs a half a freaking ton. So we're going to use this as a handle and this as a handle. Lift her straight up. Oh, jeez. Make sure you eat your Wheaties before lifting those suckers up. Holy good Lord. Can you stop stabbing me?
No, please, help, stop it.
Alright, what are we looking at here? Let's bring you guys closer. Actually, we'll use the iPhone. Now, one of the things I had noticed when this thing was on there was this was completely coated with gasoline when I started dismantling it. Remember, I did a final, cold start on it beforehand. Now, the reason why I showed you that, one, don't use the wrong freaking stuff for the wrong stuff. Anyways, I can potently smell gasoline here. But, overall, they're actually not, I mean, they're dirty, but they're not filthy. This is pretty dirty, but not bad. Like, when I pulled apart that engine right there, the amount of just sludge was unreal. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like underneath our pan here. I also really love this. Oh, there we go. She's in there good. Oh, come on, guys. Freaking look at that. She's got, well, I think a lot of that just kind of fell in when I pulled that off. But, that's pretty clean, guys. That's not bad at all. Freaking awesome. This is definitely a much better candidate for a rebuild than that one. So this may find, I was originally going to just rebuild this and leave it on a stand because how freaking awesome. After seeing how great the valley looks, I have a lot of faith that we're going to be looking at something really nice underneath here. But let's go ahead and pop this cork and see what's going on. She's a little dirty. Actually, it looks like she has a bit of water in there. Ooh. It doesn't have like the milkiness that you'd get on the top of like, say the bottom of your oil filler cap when you have a blown head gasket, but we do have water inside there. Yep, that gasket's all biggered up. Let's go ahead and see if we can't clean up the casting on there and see what we got going on. What kind of cylinder heads we have. So our casting number is 1233472. We go back onto here. It's 1233472, 67 to 70. So if this engine was put together in say 69, these heads probably would have come with them. So it's not like someone went in here and changed them out. I don't really know. I think there might be a little bit of emission stuff in these. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it's period correct. So these are probably the original heads to this engine. I mean, like I already played with these. Everything's still really tight. I'm pretty surprised that the lash is still good. With how worn out this engine really is. But hey, we'll bag them. We'll tag them. Let's take a look at the other side. Oh. That came off way easier. That kind of surprised me. Alright. Same as the last thing. I don't see any coolant or anything on this side. It's just a line of coolant on that side. Smooth as silk. Let's see how this looks. Oh wow, they look freaking awesome. You can't zoom in there. Look, focus. There you go. Look at that, guys. So I can definitely say this side, at least the manifold, some of them were kind of tight, but for the most part, wasn't too bad. How often does that happen? Like, I don't know when this engine was popped in and out, but they came off easy. Ooh. A lot of chalkiness there, a lot of smirk. It looks better. So this one has more fuel than this one. It's not running lean. That one looks good. So 2 and 8 running rich. The rest look good. Good. Little rich. Ooh. That one looks just right terrible. It's right clogged up with oil. Gross. That was pretty good. Also, I want to point out that the spring retainers look freaking minty fresh in here. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pack the tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. My mother told me to pick this head right over here. We're going with that one because I'm a rebel without a cause. What was I doing? Oh, yes. Of course. Negative. Negative Ghost Rider. What? Should have been that. Yeah, that's right. What am I doing? What am I doing? What in tarnations? We got this whole thing right here.
Say what one more goddamn time.
Do it. Do it right. Oh, that was in the wrong spot. We do it nice because we do it twice, guys. First about to kick on. Time lapse time.
One eternity later.
So before we go ahead and give this the wall to get this off, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up down below. If you like the content, make sure you share it. It goes a long way to tell YouTube, hey, we got stuff going on here. Also, if you want to support the channel, link in the description down below. You can hop over to our merch place and pick up some pretty cool t-shirts, sweaters, things like that. But what I've done here is I left this bolt kind of engaged so that when I wail on this, it doesn't break my foot. 3, 2, 1. I chipped my my leather mallet. Ah, it did come loose. Okay. Didn't feel like it did. All right, prepare for the. Okay. All right. All right. I'd be willing to say. I'm pretty confident this is not the original gasket, but what I'm looking for is they had coolant on this side. I was just seeing if we have any signs of the head gasket failing. And it doesn't look like that's the case. But I'll also look over here. So yeah, I would say that this engine has actually been opened up and rebuilt. It's dirty, but it's not bad. Yeah, what about the other side? This was the side I was really worried about, but let's take this off so it doesn't fall. I'd say that, though, is just a quick valve job. Hot tank, jet. Oh, and then just put back together. The block, I'd say still jet, hot tank. Well, hot tank, then jet. Hot tank, then jet. Then reassembly. Well, no. 30 over pistons. Maybe 10. Wow. It's coming apart fairly easy. I don't know when this was rebuilt, but I can definitely say with pretty good confidence that it has been. Or, hell, this is one heck of a good engine. Sure, a little worn out, but scale 1 to 10, it's at least good. Wow, what? That's, Okay, we'll break out the phone and show you this side. Kind of give you an idea of what we see here. So So looking at cylinder and El Numero Uno, you can take a look. This thing was definitely, it was burning some extra fuel in there. Pretty dirty. You can see the original cross hatching is in fact gone. As you can see, we come over to this one. Yeah, that's not a, that was just getting pure gasoline in there. You know, that's just getting washed. Oh, ow, what in the living Lord? Ooh, that's not a good sign, guys. That is, this piston has made love this valve. Look at that. Look how cruddy this is. Oh, man. What do we have? That's bent. Holy crap. So this cylinder was doing absolutely nothing. That is boogered up, guys. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. So our intake looks good. We'll give that a tap. Let me move the other camera over here because I wasn't expecting this. All right, what are we doing? All right, we're gonna just stuff this thing, kind of like so. Now come back here, you son of a gun! Whoa! Don't land on my foot. This is not the appropriate way, but obviously we have a problem. Let's see. Woo! Catastrophe. All right, starting off with this guy right here. That's not getting enough. Not getting enough. We need to scoot you down a little bit. There we go. Make sure it doesn't fall. Woohoo! Right on the edge. There we go. When in doubt, smack it with a hammer. I want to put this somewhere safe. That's why that's there. I knew I was going to need that. Let's not compress the spring on my hand, guys. Got one of them. That's not all the way out. Don't lose it. When in doubt, smack it out. But junk, garbage, gua, bleh. Yep, bent valves. That would explain a lot why it ran kind of rough. Couple things. This is actually cracked on the inside here, all the way across through here. There's actually chunks of aluminum coming out. And we have variable valve timing. Buick, before it's time. Okay, let's keep disassembling this. So we have a couple things that are working against this engine. Obviously, the bent valve, that explains cylinder number 3. While we're pulling this apart, like I showed you, the timing cover was cracked. And the timing chain, like I said, variable valve timing. The oil can't really see it too well, but oil in the pan is very metallic-y. So that would explain a little bit. And I'll show you a little video of the actual the primary, the first cam bearing, and the top of it is really rough, but going through it, it's pretty worn. Now we'll pull all the cam bearings out, because obviously if you're going to have this thing cleaned, it should be out anyways. But we can actually kind of take a look at them to see just how bad they are. Now, the real curiosity part, what do the mains look like? What do the connecting rods look like? Are those bearings totally shot, or did they? I don't think any spun, but so far, oops, some more coolant left in there. It was a day late, dollar short to get that to stop. What we'll do is we'll pop the plugs out the side of it and let the rest of the coolant come out. Let's see what we got going on with cylinder El Numero Uno. Oh, actually, we have enough discoloration that we've gone through into the copper. Not badly, but it is starting to. So these are pretty worn bearings. Lot of wear. Oh my god. We actually have some galling on this one. So not only do we have discoloration on this side, that's deep. That's real deep. So these are definitely multi-layered. But we have galling on this side. As we go further back, it gets way worse. According to the specs, we're looking at 95 foot-pounds of torque. Now I'm going to choose one of the further back ones. I'm going to choose this one. And we're going to see what this one looks like. Gotta love that smell of breaking open bolts that haven't been opened in a while. Again, heavily worn. Guys, I am absolutely dumbfounded that this thing was able to drive, let alone survive, a road trip 2,500 miles home. It didn't run right when we bought it. It had no oil pressure. We threw a high performance oil pump on it, threw Lucas thickening oil on it. We eventually, by the time I was done driving this thing, I had diesel oil mixed into it, as well as some additives, just so that it was just trying to limp it through the summer, and it never gave up, guys. And I said it from the very beginning, my concern was the fact that the main bearings were probably worn out. And today we can definitely say that the main journals are wiped out. And we can also say a couple other things. I don't know if this is the original engine to the car, probably not, but it has definitely been rebuilt. Initially I was saying it was a Craigslist rebuild, but not only do we have these little tabs that you can see on both the heads as well as the block itself, right on the core plug knockouts, and those guys right there, when it gets overheated, they pop off. So we never overheated the engine per se, and the block looks really, really good. We do have issues, but one of the reasons why I was saying it was going to be the main journals is because you never have a failure in life unless you don't learn from it. Now, when I was approached to do a 318 build with someone, I had some concerns with the engine that I sourced initially, and a couple of things, don't worry about it. We have extra parts. If it needs to be, we'll just take care of it down there. The crank was the biggest problem. The premise of the build was to do it with hand tools like you would in a junkyard. Pull an engine and put it back to life. No machine shops, nothing. Partly because we were locked down up here and we had no access to machine shops. So, when I pulled it apart, I had concerns with shadows on the crank, as well as the fact that the crank moved about 3/4 of an inch inside the engine before we even started disassembling the actual engine. So I sent photos down and a video, and it wasn't a worry, okay? When we were down there, John Wilburn looked at the crank. He saw that they were worn as well.
There we go. You smoke?
Now, unfortunately, when it was put together, a plastic gauge was found to be used, and so we never knew there was a problem until it reared its ugly head up in Nick's garage. But that's fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to learn. And Tall John's Fun Shop, actually, Tall John, when he saw the oiling issue, there was a couple of theories that were being put out that the lifters were wrong, the push rods were the wrong, whatever. They were wrong. Ultimately, what happened was Tall John said, "Hey, take the main caps off, throw a plastic gauge in there, and see what happens." So that's what we did. We threw a plastic gauge in there, and it did exactly this. Exactly this. The plastic gauge was just touched once we torqued it down, just kissed by the bearing. And so when we pulled the crank out, I brought it to the machine shop, expressed my concerns about the plastic gauge not getting squished to tolerances, or even close to it, as well as the thrust surfaces being concaved. Ultimately, what ended up having to happen was the crank was completely shot. There was no saving the thrust surfaces, and the actual main journals were worn 7th out. There was a rumor that I bought standard bearings for the engine, and it was a crank cut 10. No, the crank was just worn out, like this one. But hopefully, the thrust surface on this isn't concave, so hopefully this crank can be saved. The other one couldn't be. So when we put a different crank in there, it got 70 pounds of pressure, and the thing has other issues now. But, it was a junkyard. It was meant to be a junkyard build. If you build junk, you get junk. That's what happens. This thing right here, this is, to me, I'm very sentimentally attached to this engine now. That lesson that we learned with the 318 translates over to here, and now we know how to solve it. Now we have other issues we have to deal with, but the biggest issue was oiling. So, I'll put pictures of everything that we've seen, and you kind of followed me while I was dismantling this, so it's kind of condensed down, because who wants to watch 7 hours of pulling an engine apart? But this did the exact same thing. Do I think it's 7th thou on this one? I have no idea. We could mic it out, but I don't see a purpose to do that. We'll just get the crank down to Universal Auto Parts in Albany, have them cut the crank, and then we'll start reassembling this, because I don't know what this will end up in, but this little 350, I can't let it just get scrapped. This is a great little block. I can't do that to this. It's done great by me. Now, covering a couple other issues. Again, the engine wasn't running 100%, and when we got home, we noticed that cylinder number 3, spark plug wasn't burning anything. It was just getting gooped up and gross. Well, let me tell you, I don't know if you can see this, but See how wonderful that is. It's like one of those people spinning a saucer on a pike or something. The exhaust valve made sweet, sweet love with that piston, and well, seeing how we're going to already have to punch this engine 30 over, as far as I can tell, these are standard. I don't see any markings on this saying that this has already been punched out. Actually, we don't even have to scrape out. The one was washed clean. So based off of that, I would say that they were direct replacements. The deck has not been, they're still stamping on it. So this block is a good block. Is it 100% untouched? The block may actually be a virgin block. So we'll get the pistons 30 over, punch it out, deck it, have it hot tanked, jet washed. What else? Anything else that we need to do? Replace the timing cover. Obviously, timing cover's broken. Should replace them anyways. You know, they're expensive, but there's a lot of things that does other than just being a timing cover. It's not like a 350 Chevy or something like that. Replace your timing covers. Remove the variable valve timing upgrade that this engine had, and reassemble it with a less than mild cam, because I'm thinking we want to do, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I have an idea. So make sure you subscribe and stick around. If I can find a Opel GT, I've wanted to build an Opel GT for like the past 3 years. If I can buy an Opel GT that's in good shape, I want to build a drag racer with it. Throw this in there, right? I think that's a great idea. We'll take the other 350 that I have behind you guys and put that in a CJ7 and put this in a purpose-built drag car. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. Anyway, so there are a couple other issues. Now, the cam bearings from here back, great shape. I mean, honestly, they didn't need to come out. I know the expression, they're good, as like Schrodinger's cat. They're good unless you actually look at them. Quantum mechanics. Cam bearings are a perfect example of quantum mechanics. It doesn't exist until you actually observe it, and then they are bad. These are fine. The front one's not. I have a feeling that this is more along the lines of from the beginning or the end of the summer. You know, the oil pressure dropping down to 0, and I still drove it. I wanted to see how long this 350 would last. And so you get a little bit of chatter on here, a little bit of galling, where the metal has gotten to the point where it's literally rolling, kind of like peeling on the surface. So although the camshaft looks great, the lifters look awesome, the push rods look awesome, we're going to get rid of all of that. We're going to upgrade all this. We're going to have to go with a upgraded head. Those heads, the valve seats are the valve seat for this one's pretty boogered up, as well as the guides. I mean, I had to punch these things out. I don't know what the heck. They just got real hot. What? Doesn't matter. Those heads are junk. Doesn't matter. Gone. Garbage. So, I like to say, there's no such thing as failure as long as you learn something. Like the 318. We learned a lot with the 318. If someone approaches you to build a junkyard-based engine, don't. Junk in, junk out. That's what you get. But we did learn a lot about how to diagnose exactly this problem. If it wasn't for Tall John, check out his channel, Tall John Fun Shop. I'll put it in the description down below. Great father-son duo. Highly recommend that channel. If it wasn't for him and Nick's garage trying to figure out what was going on with that 318, we'd never figured out what was wrong. Ultimately, the cylinders are out around, the block is junk, the 318's gonna get. This thing, this is a virgin block. Oh, I love this thing. I really love this thing. I'm really, really pumped, guys. And again, I was saying prayers on the way home that this would make it, and the Lord watched over me, because this thing had no business surviving what I put it through. In fact, the last time I drove it out to Bennington, Vermont, I was praying the whole way there and the whole way back that I wouldn't have to have a AAA come and get me, because it was a long trip. But yeah, this is a great engine, guys. If you're thinking about buying a muscle car, look no further than Buick, guys. Like, this thing is incredible. I mean, they have the 455. That does have some oiling issues, too. And we'll go over some solutions for that, including an external oil reroute to the back of the engine so you can pressurize the front and rear and equalize it. And solve a lot of your oiling issues with that. So, if you're comment section down below, if you want to see an Opel GT with this beating heart inside of it, down below, let me know. I'm half tempted to do that. And let's get this cranked to Universal, see if they can't salvage it, get the block down there, and get this thing starting to get put back together. For now, it'll probably just be on a stand. Probably replace the Buick 455 until we have a new home for this. As far as on a stand, the Buick 455 is going in the old Buick outside. But guys, if you can, find yourself a ratty old muscle car or a ratty old import. I love both of them. I'm not partial to one or the other. We have the supercharged V8 swapped Supra, and we have the Satellite, we have Jeep Wrangler, we have a bunch of stuff here. Just get out there and have fun. We only live once, seize the day, as the expression is. And most importantly, remember, God bless, and keep it shiny side up. Till next time.